Hey, what's up all? Wardrobe here. Just got done playing my first game of North Africa, the new SCS game by MMP and the Gamers. I played 5.1 Operation Brevity, a one-turn game. There's a lot here though. Lots of cool things in here. I kind of feel like maybe I didn't do some things correctly, possibly. We'll see as I kind of go read. There's not been a whole lot written about it or done about it. I think Kev's got a few vids. I don't know if anyone else does. So I'll go check them out. So basically it's there's 1, 2, 3, 4 objective hexes. You just have to take them. Someone has to own all 4. If you own all 4, you win. If you don't, it's a draw. Or yeah. So the Commonwealth came in and took this one pretty quickly. Yeah, because the Axis were in both these. You know what? Now that I'm thinking through this, no, I think that's all I could have done. So I wrote down my activations. Commonwealth did a limited activation to get to here. This is the unit that's way over here to the east. So they got over here and did that. Sorry if it's shaking. And so they took that. Then the Axis did a reaction activation. So that means all they can do is move. So they moved all their guys around and kind of surrounded some of the Commonwealth, and they were here and they had some other stuff. I've kind of learned my lesson about what I did here at the end, but I'll talk about that. So they kind of surrounded. Well, then I had the Commonwealth react. I didn't realize that was my first mistake. You can't react to a reaction. You can only react to a limited or full activation. So the Commonwealth would have had to have done at least a limited activation. So so to let you know, there's full activation, in which case uses 2 of these units. So you have these units kind of spread around your board, sitting on some units, and then you flip them over to their expended side if you want to do a full activation. That basically allows you to do everything you do in a normal turn for SCS, including barrage and a barrage, which is air and artillery, okay? And then you get to remove all your DGs at the end of that. You do not get to remove DGs on a reaction phase, so that's kind of big. On a limited activation, you just flip 1 over, and now you don't get to do any barrages. Okay. So when I say those words, that's what I mean. So anyway, the Commonwealth reacted, then the Axis did a limited activation, did a little bit more moving, a little bit of battling. Some guys lost some steps here and there. The Commonwealth then did a full. Now here's one thing I don't understand about this scenario. The Commonwealth get 4 supply units at the beginning. Well, if you want to involve those guys over on the east, if I'm understanding everything, because I don't think I could have done I couldn't have done an inactive turn because I had 1 turn. An inactive turn means everyone gets 3 times their movement and gets to go. Well, I'm not going to do that because I only have 1 turn. So I had to use one of those supplies. So then I lost one doing that, moving that guy all the way from the east over here to take one of the hexes. So that was kind of good, right? He took a hex on a turn. Well, I was given anyway. So and then I did a full, so that flipped that over. And now I was able to barrage and barrage. So I did that, and I think it's at that point I took. No, that's not when I took that second one. I was pounding away at this guy, and I DG'd a bunch of guys. I thought those stayed on the whole turn. They don't. So not a whole lot happened. I did DG this, and I got some attacks, but they were already pretty stacked. And I'll tell you what, man, there's a lot with these slopes, with the escarpments. You get some modifiers on your combat that support and they're in rough, so that's, shifts and all that stuff. So it's pretty tough to attack, and when you get around all these cities and stuff. So that's interesting. So then the Axis did did I do it? Looks like they did a reaction. So they moved around some more, and that's where I did a little bit of a mistake. Huh. Oh, yeah. I don't know when that one thing happened here. And so they made a limited, so they did a reaction. That didn't sound right. Anyway, so I moved these guys around and stacked up these hexes. Oh, I know when I did that. I forgot to write it down. They were last to activate, so the axis. So I guess I reacted and moved them around. And then the Commonwealth did a limited, and this was a big deal. So this guy did a limited and ran around and took this victory hex, which was cool. So now they had 2, and they had a supply unit that was sitting in there. And so he did it and they lost it. So you will make a roll and you either lose it or you might move to a different one. Well, that's pretty huge. Losing that means you can't do any yeah, when they lose that, they can't make any attacks. They can only react. Or pass. And so he took that, and then the Axis did a reaction, I believe. Somehow I stacked up these hexes in here because I thought, I think I did that earlier because I thought I'm going to stack them up. That was not the last thing I did. They stacked them up so that these guys couldn't attack. They did attack them, and they took a little bit of a hit. But so here was the mistake and why I shouldn't have stacked these guys like that. So at the end of a turn, you check supply in 3 ways. 1, can you get to this? It's only, can you get to your supply unit to do your activation to do limited or full? That's just 10 hexes. And I need to confirm if it's through enemy zones and control and all that, but it's 10 hexes to get to that. And that's fairly easy to do, except for that guy that was way east. That's why I had to put a unit with him. The other supply is trace supply, and you do that when you're activated. And when it's an activation, you just count 10 hexes. You ignore zones of control and enemy units. So I had some guys over here that they could make it. And you just have to basically get to a supply road, and then it has to go to your supply source. Or be 10 hexes to your guy, to your supply source. Now, where you run into a little bit of troubles, though, you still have the prohibition that if you can't move through the terrain, you can't do it. So the British did have a tough time making that trace supply for activation. No, not for activation. Sorry. Anyway, so you do have to look out for that. Now, the third way to check supply is at the end of your turn. You check trace supply like normal. You don't ignore, you have to pay attention to enemy units and their zones of control. You can negate zones of control. Well, the British had to get to, well, you have to get to 10 to your source, just like normal. Well, the British couldn't. I had 2 British units here. They couldn't get around because of all these escarpments, 10 hexes, so they are out of supply. So what you do is you don't mark them out of supply. You simply make a roll for the stack. So it's another reason not to stack four units in a hex, because if you roll a 1 to 3 with a couple of modifiers here and there, but not very applicable, if you roll a 1, 2, or 3, you lose the stack to surrender. And you do throw the units into a rebuild cup if they can. So these guys rolled and they were fine. This stack rolled, I lost two battalions for the British. Well, the mistake I made as the Germans and the Axis is that I stuck all their guys in here, so now they were surrounded. If I had just kept a guy here and a guy here that I had, they could have traced to this road and made it. Instead, I had to roll. I lost this stack of 4 battalions. So the Germans lost all these guys off the victory hex. In the next turn, if there would be one, the British would just move in there. The Germans here did roll, and they rolled a 5, and they were fine. So, but that's a huge deal. You can lose stacks of units. So it's like you can stack, and then you kind of want to get unstacked in a way if you think you're going to be out of supply. Anyway, so so a couple things. Units can activate multiple times in a turn. That's cool. What else? You have limited use of air. Now, here's where I got a little screwed up. They give you 3 air in this scenario, but you can only activate them when you use 2 supply units. But I had to use 1 supply unit to get that guy from the east. So I'm like, well, how do I do that? Unless I just ignore that unit, but he's a 4-power unit. I don't know. I'm not making a lot of sense, but I'm just curious if I'm getting that right. And I just wonder why they give you that. I guess you can opt to leave that guy out of the battles. You get 3 barrages each turn. So it's kind of like unlimited in a way, but in a way it's not, because you can only use them if you have this supply. The aircraft change out every turn, so you don't get to carry those turn to turn. You roll at the beginning of the turn to get those. These supply units you can keep, but once you expend them, they're off. So like if you use them all, so in this turn, this game, you use them all, but you probably want to save some. So you're going to want to do limited and reacting, and maybe even, and then there's this last option that you can do. Like I said, it's an administration phase, and I can see why you do that. You might do that for 2 or 3 months and build up your supply units. Pretty cool. So supply is really easy. It's just using it is going to be a challenge. So that's pretty cool. I think that's all I have. Pretty cool. It does get kind of crazy, and you have to kind of shuffle guys around to see what's, when you're trying to attack, like, oh crap, there's escarpment there or whatever. So that was kind of a crazy thing. I didn't even use these sheets here, these little counters here. I can't remember why you'd need those or not. So, and maybe it doesn't matter on this size of game, but like you would say, I activated these guys or not. I don't know. In some ways, I also wish you could just have these guys floating around, because it's just kind of adds to your stack mess with all these other things here to having these guys. But I get that you need to have them near units. So it's almost like, I need to see if you have to stack them with the unit. Maybe you can just stack them over here and just have them around. Because I think it's just 10 hexes. I don't think you have to, I think you can ignore all those people. Anyway, that's that. I've gone on to 11 minutes here. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I'm going to probably set this, I don't usually do this, but I'll probably set this one up again and try again. And just kind of zip through the rules, check Board Game Geek, watch Kev's videos, go check the SCS Facebook page, just kind of do some reading here and then try it again. So that's that, North Africa. And if you're on the Tack Up page, this is game number 5 on my list of 10. And then there's a Hex to Hex, so you can't really see him on my phone, but he's we've been chatting on Facebook Messenger. Oh, he's waving. Hold on. Let me get him up there. Okay, wave again there, sir. But I've got him muted so I don't hear him. Oh, there he is. Kind of see him poking around my phone there. All right, that's it. I thank you all. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the likes. Smash that bell. All right, see you. Bye.